Hey, look at that. Recorded started.
Yeah.
And we don't have to like get off the call to verify anything or anything. We just do it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And yeah, I tried it out earlier, and like it separates video and audio. So
oh, sweet.
So if we're lucky,
if we're lucky, this is the new way.
This could be the new way, because it might. I think the only thing about it, I was looking at it, and it exports out as an MP3 file, and which means it's already kind of compressed.
Yeah.
So I'll probably wind up playing around with it, or Bug Rob about it.
Bug Rob.
Yeah. See what settings they use. But ultimately, this means that the recordings could technically just get uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna need to hold on real quick. That's a little bit better.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
You don't have a glare from my.
A little bit.
Well, yes, because I'm bald.
Yeah, it's a factor.
It is.
For those of you listening on the audio side, we're playing around with video.
Oh yeah,
effects.
audio.
Yeah, because you're listening to Deadzone the podcast, and I'm Brian.
And I'm Rick.
Welcome to the Deadzone podcast. Deadzone is the sci-fi tabletop.
That's a great segue into the show.
And for some reason, I put my old tag of Healy Goofy on here.
Yeah. Well, we can.
It asked for a name, and I'm like,
with that.
I mean, it works.
It works.
I'm
not going to change it in post.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that works. What's going on, man?
Oh, same old, same old.
You've been busy.
Been a little busy. It's been a little crazy. We had a Kings of War tournament.
Yes.
Not too long ago, that I played in, and
you did.
I went 2-1.
2-1. That's
the best I've
really
ever
good
done.
Record.
Out of 12 players too.
Oh wow. Okay.
And obviously this is the sci-fi show, but it is pretty neat that it was a new store that's been supporting Mantic Games down by us. They've really been buying into Kings of War, Firefight, Deadzone.
Tons of Firefight and Deadzone. That picture you shot me was like, I was depressed that I was sitting on the couch.
I won't lie. I was like, I think I told Chris when I was there, I was like, I'm going to go take a picture to make Rick sad that he's not here with us today.
Yeah.
So what was in that picture was the spread of Mantic product that they have, which is considerable for one thing. And then also they have a lot of the new stuff that just came out like in December.
Yeah, the new Peacekeepers.
The new Peacekeepers with phase claws, the Assault Enforcers with phase claws, the big heavy weapons platform Enforcer pack, the big Peacekeeper, big heavy weapons guys. I forget what they're called off the top of my head. I actually wound up picking up 2 of those things because A, I'm supporting that store because that's awesome of them, and B, they're really cool models, and I want them. But yeah, so it was a really great event, and it was our first tournament there, and we had 12 players.
How much room was there? Room for more players?
We had I think we had room to do a max of like 14 or 16.
Okay.
I think he was technically is like if I could get 16. I wasn't running this tournament. I was participating. He was shooting for 16, and we did have a couple of drops the day of or the week of, which happens every now and then. But ultimately, like, it was a really great showing. It was about little over half regular players, like Blake and Kyle came down to play. Adam Kinney came down to play, but there is a good half of them, I want to say, that were new to Kings of War.
Oh, sweet.
That were like locals to the store that heard about it and bought in, and a whole bunch of people came and saw us playing, and
awesome.
I think they moved quite a bit of product that day. So that was perfect. It was a really great time. Yeah.
Cool.
And like I said, I picked up some more enforcers.
It's really weird seeing you buy enforcers.
I mean, I've got to have antagonists. And I mean, I do have like the whole firefight starter box for enforcers, and now I had a buddy drop off a starter set for Marauders too. So.
Oh darn.
Yeah, I'm collecting all the factions, I guess.
The real Rebs.
Yeah, there's Rebs all around. Rebs for everybody.
Rebs for everybody.
I still think it'd be fun if the Rebs were like auxiliary units that the Marauders could bring on.
I would totally play Rebs like that.
Yeah, that could be a fun way to trickle them into the firefight scene. But yeah, we'll have to see if something like that comes to next year. But we do have a couple of things of note, of newsworthy things. Since Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah.
This is the first recording since the new year started.
Yep.
And kind of with that, a whole bunch of news happened near the end of December.
Like 12 days of it.
Yeah. And so to recap one of them, obviously Warpath is the epic scale version of the game is coming to Kickstarter. It is going to be launching on February 14th. Mantic is constantly posting about it, and with some really neat posts too, because they're talking about the rules, and how the game plays, and it's sounding, like it's really building up well. So I'm excited to see it. It's a scale that I don't play at. If you've known me for a while, Rick can maybe attest to this. Is like 28 millimeter is kind of my sweet spot. That's where I like to be. 32, like something about it I just can't do. Even smaller, I'm like.
So the size kind of reminds me, it's thinking about it. I was like, I think the last time I played anything this size was Risk.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's a few other random board games that had tokens that size.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never done anything at that size. It'll be interesting to see how my skills go at painting that. It's super tiny.
It's super tiny. And the screenshots we've seen of them, the models look really detailed.
Very
for
detailed,
that scale. So yeah, we'll have to see. But I'm excited for it. I think the community is excited for it. It sounds like they might be doing kind of a combo of produced product as well as exploring, probably throwing some up on the vault, or some other mechanism for releasing 3D models for it. I imagine it'd be the vault, but
they partnered for the scenery too.
Yeah, that's right. They did announce some new scenery that fits the scale,
which is awesome.
because your typical Deadzone scenery
does not fit that scale.
Might not be appropriate.
I mean, towering buildings.
You could still pull it off.
Sure.
It would just be like how it's like in Dread, where it was the mega cities have the big apartment complex that are practically a city themselves. That's just a Mantic building in the Warpath setting. But speaking of scale and other announcements,
scale.
Halo.
Yes.
Mantic Games is going to be working on a Halo tabletop game.
Yes.
And it sounds like details are few and far between at this particular time. But there's a lot of buzz around it already. From like their one article that they posted about
it blew up.
It blew up. It was everywhere. I mean, people are excited for Halo, and the scale is one thing. I think they caused a little confusion when they made the announcement, because
a little bit.
They specifically said like Spartans were going to be 40 millimeters.
Spartans.
So the Spartans,
that's the important part right there. Spartans.
The Spartans are 40 millimeter. Are 40 millimeter, which is a pretty decent size. I think is that a little bit bigger than Shatterpoint, the new Star Wars game. So it's a bigger scale than most miniature games out there for a single mini. But it's Halo. The Spartans in there are already kind of taller than your average person, and it sounds like the rest of the line might be in that kind of like 32 or
28 heroic 28. Or whatever you call it.
Yeah. So the models themselves will be a little bit bigger scale for like your average human in it, but then the Spartans are going to be a little bit taller than them
because they're the big guys.
And I imagine some of the other models will be too. So as of right now, they haven't. Again, details are few and far between.
Yes.
Really, really hoping I believe it's going to be a skirmish game.
I mean, if you look at it looks like it's going to be a skirmish game, but also have team aspects to it.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things in the first article that got posted about it is team play.
Yeah. So I think there's probably going to be an aspect that is channeling a bit more of like the multiplayer aspect of Halo than necessarily like the narrative side.
Sure.
That said, I do still hope that we get to see, the Covenant as a faction, the Flood as a faction, the I think they're called Forerunners. I forget what the Halo 4 and beyond.
I was never a Halo person, so outside of the Covenant, all the rest of it's like okay.
Yeah, you would like the Flood because it's zombies.
Oh, okay. Then I'm a Flood player. Got it.
It's basically Halo's version of Plague.
Nice. Yep.
Except it's little parasite bug thingies that latch onto you.
All right.
And paralyze you, and then you mutate. It's great. So that's going to be really neat to see how that comes about. We're expecting more announcements, obviously, as time goes on, especially at Adepticon.
When like your community manager posts a Spartan helmet, it says "See you at Adepticon." Just saying.
I think he posted it in the Pathfinders group though, so I don't know if that was public.
It is
so you may or may not have seen a post about.
May or may not have.
Yeah, we can no longer confirm nor deny that the existence of that, or whether or not Ronnie is going to be at Adepticon. He's going to be at Adepticon.
I would hope so. With this one.
Yeah. So Speaking of Adepticon.
Yes.
Look at that segue. So obviously Adepticon is coming up here, and for whatever reason I didn't write the exact dates down on my notes.
22nd?
Yeah, so
March
Adepticon
22nd, 23rd, 24th.
Yep, the 20th through the 24th officially.
Yeah.
Because I think it starts on a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, it starts like they set up Tuesday and it starts Wednesday or something like that.
It starts early for a lot of other games.
We've never been there that early.
No, we work. But what that means is, Friday is going to be Firefight.
Yay!
So the whole lineup, there's a whole bunch of Kings of War events, including a Team's Ambush one, which is kind of taking place, replacing I think the how to use it that Mike Carter usually runs. So Team Ambush, I think that's probably going to be a huge blast. I think that might actually be Friday as well. There's Armada, which is also going to be Friday, the official tournament, as well as a big game Armada event, coupled with the big game Kings of War.
Of course.
And for those that are unfamiliar, I don't mean that it's like, oh, the big championship game. No, it's a gigantic game of Kings of War, where
16 feet.
Something like that. I was talking to Kyle, and we're talking over 20,000 points or something per side.
It seems like it's like 16 or 22 feet because it's a few tables.
It's a few tables worth, and it's two. I believe it's kind of a Forces of Nature Trident Realms versus like the Forces of the Abyss and Abyssal Dwarves. I think has been the last couple, but they're always working on new.
So I wonder how big they're going to make the Armada part, because I remember before it was a small section of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was the right size for Armada, but like in the scale of a big game, it was just a regular size of Armada that was being played.
Yeah,
that was connected to it. So it's kind of one of like, how crazy are they going to go with Armada?
These guys go crazy on it. So Blake and Kyle, they run a great job. It's a rather relatively casual event. It's great. It's a great hangout time. I think people learn how to play Kings of War a lot of times at that kind of event. And so definitely check it out. Tickets are up for that. And then obviously there's Firefight, which is going to be Friday evening. It starts like at 3:00, I think.
And 3 rounds, right?
3 games, and we're getting done at 11. we wanted to really make sure that we have enough time to get through the games this year, which meant Armada's going a little longer and Firefight's going a little longer, just to make that doable, because when we kind of ran it for, I think it was the first time last year of both of those events kind of back to back, it was pretty tight. Like it was so it's got a lot more breathing room this time, and I think we're gonna have a whole lot of fun. Firefight is at 1250 points, and the packets are now out and available.
Everything is live.
Yep, I had finished up. I think I was saying I was finishing them up last time we were recorded. They got finished up. They just got posted as of this recording, which is about a week before the episode airs, roughly. And so they've been up for a little bit. Go check them out. They're officially being posted on Adepticon's website. I'm likely going to be sharing links to these packets going forward, just so people have a little bit more visibility to them. It was taking a while because they were being proofread, which kind of makes me nervous because it's like, I thought I proofread them. But you know me, Rick, as we were discussing, there had been some holdover rules from Deadzone, in our packets for years.
A while ago.
Like 5
like before
years.
we ran it.
Yeah. Which was like I think it was specifically like if you got kicked off the table or something and you know your opponent won, they would get like 20 tournament points.
Yeah.
Because it was all based on victory points at the time.
Yep.
So that is not in there anymore.
It's not part of it.
Anyway, I digress. Firefights.
Hey, I'm Chopper.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Rob.
From Mobile Armor Radio.
And you are listening to Deadzone, the podcast with Rick and Brian in the morning.
Never heard of it.
I don't even know who those guys are.
So we're going to be doing 3 rounds of that. And, you know, I've got it here up in front of me. So I might as well share what scenarios we're looking at.
Ooh.
That might make sense. It could save people the trouble of having to go and look at the packets directly necessarily. I still recommend doing that to make sure you have all the rules in front of you.
Yes.
So the first scenario we're going with is actually Bodyguard. So this is one where each player will take 2 objective markers to serve as their VIPs. And starting with the player who has initiative, alternate attaching 1 VIP marker to a unit, and that only 1 unit can have a VIP. So basically, you are protecting that unit on your side while trying to get the VIP of your opponent.
I'm trying to remember if I played that one.
It's one of the newer ones actually. So
yeah, I don't think I've actually played that scenario.
So it was one that I kind of read and I was initially kind of hesitant because it's like, do we want to be messing around with things like drones and stuff like that? But I did kind of have that thought. I was like, well, if I think about it in terms of kings, like this is no different than having a loot token on your
pretty much
unit. So like if they can play these games in the tournament, saying we can play these games. Yeah, so that's kind of the new perspective I was taking at these scenarios. We're not just looking at killing each other. Scenario, some of us are. Scenario 2 is manpower. And so this is the one where we have 1 objective marker in the direct center, and then starting with the player that has initiative, they alternate placing 2 further objective markers each on the battlefield, wholly within 6 inches of the center line on their opponent's half of the board. So I'm placing my tokens on my opponent's side, and so there should be, I think there'll be 5 tokens then on the field available, and they have to be 6 inches away from each other and the table edge. And that one is at the end of each round, you gain victory points for I believe it's based on unit strength. And but obviously, unit strength, obviously, again, review the official postings for the exact objectives there. And then scenario 3 went with control. It's a tried and true. We divide the board up into 6 quadrants, and it's unit strength at the end of each round. And I think it's victory points. Based on like what side or what portion of the board you're on. So it's like 1 VP for yours, but if you're in your opponent's half of the board, it's worth 2, and or worth 3, and left and right of your opponent's half of the board is worth 2. So kind of the center is worth 3 on your opponent's half, and then 2.
This is the one where you throw your little high-scoring unit into a mule and charge across the board.
Yeah. So this is going to be it's going to be a really fun tournament. I think it's a little bit more of the new flavors for Firefight, and I think we're going to have a great time on that.
And you had how many players did you have last year?
So last year, let's see if I have the.
Put Brian on the spot.
Put Brian on the spot. Brian's got all these things in front of him, actually. So we had 17 players last year out of 20 potential. And already this year we have 12 signed up.
Nice.
So we're on track to probably hit that again, if not more.
Potentially beat it, yeah.
Which is exciting. And so that's Firefight. And since I have a captive audience here, I'm sure you guys are wondering, like, what's going on with Deadzone?
Deadzone's on Saturday.
Deadzone is on Saturday. It is Saturday morning. And so it's happening alongside the Kings of War 2-day event. Obviously, we're only doing 1 day. But, sorry for those that always have to decide between those two. It's unfortunately just kind of the way it is right now. We found out last year. It was so we have some really kind of interesting metrics based on how we run some of these events back to back. The first year we ran Armada. Sold out, but it was against Kings of War.
Sold out against Kings of War. That was a crazy tournament to run because it was one of those. Half the players were brand new players.
Mm-hmm.
But they all absolutely loved it, and they were a lot of them were surprised that it was being played against Kings of War.
Yeah. And that was, we obviously got some feedback on that. There was a lot of Kings players that really wanted to play Armada. That weren't able to because they were busy with Kings. So the next year we switched it around where we had Armada and then we had Firefight afterwards and then Kings. So this is last year.
Yep.
And then we had Kings next to Deadzone. And what we found actually was Armada and Firefight and Kings of War had a lot of overlap between those three. In fact, Travis Tim pulled off the hat trick, won all three of those, which is an impressive feat, just playing that many games, and to win them all. And the interesting aspect of that is of the players that didn't play Kings, like from the Firefight side of things, we actually only had like 1 or 2 that went to play Deadzone the next day. So it was just, one of those things you kind of expect a different Venn diagram overlap. But so we're kind of going from the perspective of it worked really well this last year to have that kind of setup. Like Armada, once again, like sold out. Firefight was really close to it. I think Deadzone, I'm pretty sure we didn't quite sell out. I think we had like 2 shy. Almost all of our games were full last year, which was amazing. And so sign up now. Pre-reg is important.
Sign up last week.
Yeah. So yes, we don't get sidetracked on this show at all. So Deadzone, as a tournament goes,
175.
Yes, we are doing
Just
175 this year.
So actually, you had an interesting little tidbit about that. So like 175 is ours. Like that's our favorite for Deadzone the podcast. That's what we absolutely love playing at, because it doesn't give you have everything. You can literally take whatever you want. You still have to think a little bit about it, but there's plenty enough room to take that combo or that model that you haven't taken before. Like you can build around that.
Yeah.
You guys found out pretty much the same thing with Kings.
Yeah.
On the smaller level, you were playing it what was it, 1500?
We were playing at 1500. So this is the tournament that I was just playing at. And yeah, it was a lot of Kings of War tournaments play at like 2300 or
2400.
I
Was
think
it 2200 and Chariot? Is that what the GT was or something like that?
That's what the GT was.
And then, yeah.
But yeah, so this was the tournament that we had run here was 1500 points, kind of to be a way for the newer players to be able to kind of get their models together. That are just starting out, and a bunch of them are working off just multiple ambush boxes and stuff like that. But it kind of wound up being a nice little sweet spot where, while still kind of challenging, right? Because it was, I kind of had to make that decision of like, oh, I really want to take this unit because it gives me this advantage. I'm working within the unit building constraints of having to take X amount of this type of unit to unlock this type of unit. So there was a lot of considerations. It did make list building, really, an involved process, as opposed to, well, I know I'm going to be taking that and that and that. Because it's a no-brainer kind of thing. It's like, well, no, you weigh your decisions when you have kind of tighter constraints on your list building, and that's kind of why we like the 175.
Yeah, because I mean, so at 150, you're taking kind of a standard list. You can't really go outside of that. I mean, you can take an Iron Ancestor, you can take that Strider, but you're not going to have a lot to back them up.
Yeah, you kind of with 150. I think we've said in the past where you have to specialize in something. If it's really hard to take kind of a generalized 150 list and have it succeed especially against a specialized list. That can easily counter you.
But you bump it up 25 points. Like, it opens a lot of doors. At the same time, not making it ridiculous.
Yeah. 200.
Now
we played a lot of different 200. Points.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun. 200 is a fun point level because you can bring whatever you want. I mean, we've played 300 points, but that's
done some.
Yeah, but yeah, that 175, from at least how I look at it from a tournament standpoint, you have to put as much time into your list as you do into playing. And I think that's, like, for me, why the 175 is such a sweet point.
Yeah, and we've run it that way a couple times in the past, even at Adepticon.
Adepticon, yep.
And then last year we did 200. There was just a lot of people wanting that, so I was like, okay.
Yep.
But yeah, we're doing 175 this year, and we have a couple of our scenarios picked out. So we're doing 4 games for Deadzone, and we're starting with scenario 1, Deep Strike. So this is the one where you have kind of a staggered initial line on both sides, with some 4-pointer victory points in your opponent's side of things, and it's kind of a neat one to really kick things off. You're in the thick of it right away. And then to make things a bit more topsy-turvy, scenario 2, we have Scatter.
Love Scatter.
I think
my favorite scenario.
I think last year we had done this is, I think, the one that we swapped, was we had done Pandemonium, in part because you were able to deploy on the same side, and your opponent's on the same side. It had a similar kind of split to it. But I think Scatter is a little fun breath of randomness and kind of crazy to throw into the mix here. It's Adepticon. This is the championship. Let's have some fun. It doesn't all have to be crazy balanced. that said, scenario 3 is invade. So this is the one you're all the way across the line for deployments. There's a 4-pointer, and for each player on your opponent's side of the field, as well as some victory points in between.
Yep.
That's
what we just played.
Yep. And then last, as our big finale, we have Divide and Conquer. So this is the one where it's kind of a wedge going up through the middle for both sides on deployment. Victory points, objectives are on the sides, and all worth 2 points there. And that's always been like, apart from some of the other scenarios, I always felt like that's kind of a good. It's not an overly complex scenario.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good pitched battle kind of one.
Yep.
Because who wants to play a patrol at Adepticon?
Yeah, no. But speaking of those kind of scenarios, what about items, Brian?
Yes. So items are going to be in play. And what I'm doing is I'm 3D printing all of our item boxes. So that each table is going to have a preset set of them,
yep.
of 8 tokens, and each map has an X marked on them as far as where these crates go. So when you get to the table, it makes sure that in the past, one thing we ran into is like sometimes people, if they're randomly putting item crates on, they forget to put the intel item deck, which is worth. Which is worth tournament points in our tournaments. Things like the booby trap and some of the other random items. So this way we have a preset baggie essentially for each scenario. I'll be painting them up this year. Those that went to the Michigan GT got the sneak peek of them in their PLA white.
PLA white.
And but they should look nice. I've printed off a whole mess of them already, and gonna get them all painted up and ready to go. I think they'll look really nice. They also kind of double as terrain because
they do, because they're actual crates.
They're actual crates. So that's kind of a fun aspect of them. And that's from on Thingiverse. There's a guy named Dan Batch who basically 3D designed a whole bunch of item tokens, wound tokens, like the whole set of Deadzone, firefights, overdrive.
Yep.
He did a great job on, like, the tokens are wonderful. I like having them and using them for games. They add a little extra life to the board.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's our scenario sets for Deadzone
on Saturday.
What
time does that one start?
So that one starts. Put me on the spot. He likes to do that. That's okay. I've got it in front of me. 9 o'clock is event registration.
All right.
And so game 1, starts off at 9:30, and we're going to be getting done right around 4:15. So we got a lunch break in between, and yeah.
Right on.
So it should be a really fun time. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be nice that I'm not doing the gauntlet of tournament running this year.
Yeah.
Our good buddy Dev is going to be running the Armada tournament. He loves that game a lot. For those that went and played was at Adepticon last year, he was doing a lot of the demos and like the Tunnel Runner game. Yeah.
Yeah, the mini games.
Doomball. And great guy, and he's from the Indiana area, so Midwest represent. And yeah, he's really loves Armada, and so he's going to be handling that as well as helping out at the booth.
Perfect.
And yeah, so that just means I'm doing the sci-fi stuff.
Yes.
Which I'm cool with.
And I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to make it.
Yeah. Well.
The conversation is happening.
Yes.
I mean, it's tough because, this is Rachel's senior year. Like everything is all about that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I mean, if you look at the time frame, like we were talking, I don't actually have to take any PTO.
Yeah, we were
I could go.
We're doing some wizardry with scheduling.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll keep nagging.
Yeah.
We'll see if I can go.
Hopefully, it would be a really fun time.
Yeah.
It always is.
Hey everybody, John Jack here from Dreadball Commercials. You've seen me, you love me, you know you want me. Here you're listening to Deadzone the podcast with Rick and Brian. Don't turn that dial or I'm coming for you.
One of the other announcements that Deadzone and 175 and all that kind of stuff kind of wraps into is like we just finished playing our first game of the year.
Yeah.
We played 175 points of Rebs versus it's tough because it's an Asterian list, but there are no Asterians. I played Matsudon. And you're really like, I didn't have a choice in my list. It was like, if I'm playing Matsudon, this is literally all I have.
That said.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was one of the announcements that Asterians, like, I don't know if that means Asterians are going to lose Matsudon.
It's a little unclear.
A little gray.
It's a little gray. We'll be finding out more about that for sure.
Yes. But Matsudon are getting their own list.
Yes.
One of the people that posted on one of our thing was asking us about that theory crafting and rumors and what we think, what we want. Obviously, you want Rebs. You always want Rebs.
I always want Rebs.
I want more lizards. I love the aesthetic from Dreadball over to the resin models for Deadzone. I would love to see more of the lizard. Like, personally, I wouldn't mind seeing salamanders kind of creep their way into Deadzone.
Yeah, Mantic has some really, really excellent salamander models.
Yes.
And we were chatting about it. It's like, it wouldn't take much. Either you do resin arms or even in some cases just leave them as their fantasy styling and you have some, we did that with Veerman.
Yeah. Including the Tunnel Runner.
Yeah. The only thing is, and kind of with that is like, I hope the community would embrace that idea as opposed to, I know there's some initial kind of knee-jerk pushback on the blending of the genres and the model lines. But honestly, like, if you got it, if you
got it, use it.
Yeah.
So when you talk about those rumors, Ronnie made a comment on a post, which obviously should make you a little bit happy. There might be something coming to the vault in the lines of Rebs.
I'm excited for that.
I mean, I don't know when.
We don't know when.
But when Ronnie makes a post like that, it's generally something's going to happen.
Yeah. He likes to spoil things. But yeah, and like the visuals for, they did some concept art for some of the Matsudon characters. I don't know if you've seen them where they're using like the bows and everything, which makes me think of the Kalishi. And it makes me kind of wonder, like, it's going to be Matsudon in like a Kalishi force, almost a Maison Lab-esque combination of maybe a couple of things to give that kind of primal synergy out of the giant lizard folk. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked for the Matsudon to get their own hard plastic models as their own fully fledged faction. I could almost see it being that they kind of get that formal separation from Asterians.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Asterians have a lot already.
They got plenty.
And so yeah. So in addition to those guys coming out, we also have the Night Stalkers.
Night Stalkers.
They are going to be coming both to Firefight and to Deadzone.
Yay!
And I think the picture that was shared recently on the 9th day of Christmas
was perfect.
Yeah, I think it gets the idea across of what we've been talking about, right? Like the Night Stalkers, like models and theme, they fit in the Warpath universe very well. They're just kind of this, evil eldritch kind of force from beyond the veil kind of thing, right?
I mean, if you go on the website and you look at, say, the Night Stalker Mega Army,
mm-hmm.
the one model is pretty much in Deadzone already,
mm-hmm.
because it's from the Nameless.
Yeah.
But if you look at what you get in there, outside of the Scarecrows, everything else has a place in sci-fi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And honestly, right out of the nightmares of sci-fi, because including the Scarecrows, Event Horizon. Everything about them is Event Horizon.
Yeah. Or even like a bit of Doom, and
Yep.
they have some sneak peeks on that post of some of the painted up models.
Yeah.
Of course, they're like little zoomed in screenshots of them. I think they're going to look really wicked. And it sounds like their full launch is scheduled for May of this year. The distant future of 2024 is now. So I forgot to mention the new plastic Asterians and Matsudon are going to be coming out in June, is when they're getting rolled out. So it's gonna be a pretty
sneak peeks at Adepticon.
I think we might,
because you always have the studio models.
Mm-hmm.
They always have some random studio models in the glass case.
Yeah,
that would be sweet to see some Firefight / Deadzone Night Stalkers and Matsudon.
They've got a lot of sci-fi to be showing off this year, and I know
we're not even talking about Spartans.
no, and that's kind of what I was just thinking about. Is like, last year one of our kind of recurring topics was we were kind of having a bit of a drought with the sci-fi in kind of the summertime. This was before command protocols came out for Firefight, and starting off this year, we're getting the Kickstarter for Warpath is kicking off. We've got this new Halo game happening. In May and June, we're getting new Deadzone and Firefight factions and stuff rolling out. December we had a whole bunch of new Enforcer models come out.
Yep.
Like we're kind of we're on the different swing of this now. We're on the other side of the pendulum. Yeah. So take a back seat, Kings of War.
As we steal your Night Stalkers.
Yes. But no, I think I'm really looking forward to it. I like of the evil factions, the Night Stalkers I find are kind of the most compelling to me.
Yeah.
And I'd like to like when I get around to maybe painting up another Kings of War faction, that might be my next one.
Cool.
Just because I like the idea, and then I'd have a kind of good and evil faction to play against and introduce people to the game. So the trick then is making sure that I have enough left over on round 25mm basis.
At least for Deadzone, yes.
At least for Deadzone. Yeah, we'll see on the Firefight side of things. I think my buddy Chris might have that handled because he was already getting that together and wants to get those beta rules tested out. So
nice.
But yeah, so we got some neat stuff coming in the Warpath side of things and sci-fi in general. But yeah, and then one last thing for Adepticon, to circle back to that real quick. So word is, as of right now, there are not plans for a formal Mantic night. It's just kind of more of that the space kind of keeps getting more and more expensive. And kind of the requirements and restrictions that they have on it kept getting weirder. So there won't be a formal one this year. Well, like I said, Ronnie is scheduled to be there, and I'm sure we will get some weird after hours hangout time with him, where we're just in the Utopia hallway and just listening to him rant about something. We love to hear it. So looking forward to seeing you, Ronnie. Hopefully he doesn't steal my hat this year.
You better bring a spare just in case.
I might. And as a last Adepticon thing, it kind of worked out last year, and I'm cool throwing it out again. If there's interest in doing some Dreadball, since we don't have a Mantic night that we have to duck out to after Deadzone, hey, let's throw down. Let's get some Dreadball going. So this would be an unofficial. This would be a Deadzone the podcast Dreadball tournament, which maybe I'll throw a packet together. I don't know.
Yeah,
you don't really need a packet for Dreadball though.
No, not really.
I'll just say right now we'll do 1,200 points for the list. So it's a bit more than your starters. Yeah. Yep. So those that are interested, bring a Dreadball list. I'll have a couple of mats that we can play with, and we'll have a good time. And I think now that I've made that announcement, we can convince Jeff Burbage to come over. And Rob, those guys are always a blast to play Dreadball with. Oh yeah. Either a pseudo tournament style, depending on our players, or we'll just throw down with some ultimate because that's just such a wonderful time.
Ultimate is the best way for me to play Dreadball.
Yeah,
it's also the only time I've ever won.
I do win more at ultimate than I do at regular Dreadball. I think it's because everyone kind of ignores
Everybody ignores Brian because he's the reps.
Until it's too late. So throwing that out there, I'll probably throw together a Facebook event invite, and we'll make it our official unofficial tournament.
It'll work.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to think if there was any other Adepticon-esque announcements to throw out there. I think that covers most of them. And yeah, so I know we've been going for a while, but I do want to turn us over to our hobby table, which is our table.
This Deadzone, the podcast hobby table, is sponsored by Corvus Games Terrain, 3D printer files for all your Mantic games.
And by Acid House Terrain, foldable cardboard terrain for wargaming and RPGs.
Sponsored by Corvus Games Terrain.
Yay! And
we were talking about the success of the Magna Fortuna Kickstarter project last year.
Yes.
Yeah, last year.
It is. It was last year, man.
I meant to say last time, but yeah, it was last year. And kind of with that, I had a chance now to really dive into what came in that set and some of the other products that he threw out there. and including the rock formations and some of the plants. The Magna Fortuna stuff, I'm starting to print the infected buildings, and they do look really sweet. I'm really geeked to get those painted up. I'm trying to figure out if I want to do a slightly different paint scheme than the one that I kind of came up with initially, just to try and find something that maybe is just a little bit faster and easier to do in bulk. It might just be a matter of like changing how I do the striping of it. Because before I was doing kind of a solid blue, I forget if it was on the bottom or the top, and then white. And I was finding like the white was just a little too much, and and I was actually having to do like a full undercoat of like the dark blue, and then I would wrap it in paint or tape, and then do white spray paint over the top of it. And I'm like, that's a lot of effort. And I think like painting around the infection might get a little tricky with that scheme. So looking at maybe doing something else, but equally as simple, hopefully. And that said, like apart from the buildings themselves, I printed off some of the fences. Like the laser fence is really neat. I've got a pair of those, and like I said, some of the rock formations as well.
I need to get some rock formations printed because, like, okay, so because of my back surgery, I haven't hobbied in 2.5, almost 3 months.
Yeah.
But it was that random. Actually, I think it was obviously not the last Lions game, but the Lions game before that, where I decided, you know what, I'm gonna make some scenery.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled out a lot of the Mantic scenery, and I started building some buildings, and it was like, usually when we make scenery, we build enough pieces that we fill a board, that we can match and throw your scenery, my scenery together, and just mismatch them and build up something for a tournament. This time I decided to like actually build a map using the newer map with the roadway in it, and started using some of the scenery pieces you get in the 3rd edition, the signs and the overhangs, and the bar stool setup.
It looked really cool.
It did. It was a lot of fun to play on too. But I need some rock formations and a couple other things for that to be a full table. But that being said, because I finally got to play a game with you, it was like, oh yeah, I need to do some hobbying. I haven't done it in a while. So I've started with that. And as soon as we figure out printing things, I'll be able to print more. I mean, I did print some Nameless for you. That was
yeah. So similarly, the vault, we had, it was the big time for all the Nameless models to get some love. So we had like almost the full Nameless line, except for some of the
like that was pretty much the starter.
Yeah.
And the detail is insane. I mean, when you were here, we pulled out one of them, and we're comparing them. It was like
the original like purple plastic ones, versus the resin.
They've got the Nameless on there. And the Nameless were originally from Star Saga.
Yep.
What else is in Star Saga?
The Rebs. Granted,
and some of your favorite.
Some of the Rebs. Some of my favorite Rebs, including like the Spear, there's a Sorak model, there's a Rin model, or there's actually 2, because they have the character creation set came with a bunch. The Yendage and the Rebel Troopers, for the most part, were still kind of the original ones that they had packaged up. But they do have like a Reb Trooper unit, the one that's throwing grenade, and obviously our giant monkeys.
Your giant monkeys, the Simians.
The Alpha Simians.
God, I hate that mod.
I hate them. Simian brawlers. They're so cool. But yeah, so excited for more stuff in the vault.
Yeah.
Going forward. And I'd be remiss to mention if I didn't that we still have a coupon code with Corvus Games Terrain, which is DZ Podcast February, and use that when you're checking out on either his personal web store, or he is in the process of migrating to My Mini Factory. Not everything has been ported over yet. As I understand it, it's kind of a slow going process. Plus, it's still rolling out stuff for the for Magna Fortuna and everything like that. So he's still doing what you call it, fulfillment on a lot of that kind of stuff. So it's a bit slow going, but I believe that coupon code would work on both stores.
Sweet.
If not, let us know, and
we'll get you squared.
We'll get you squared away.
So speaking of 3D printing, I wanted to throw a shout out real quick out to Polar Filament.
Yeah.
So just randomly, we found a local site that does PLA filament for us. They're called Polar Filament. They're right out in Brian's neck of the woods.
Yeah, not too far.
We both picked up some. They put a lot of PLA on that spool.
Yeah.
Like, it's full. And at some point in the next month or two, we're actually going to get a chance to do an interview with them. So it'll probably be one of those 0.5 episodes for us, because it'll be all about 3D printing and their journey and how they ended up figuring out to do PLA in Michigan.
And they have a whole variety of
what color did you get?
Products. I did go with white because I did. I'm one of these days.
Everything.
I do a white and everything. One of these days, I'm actually gonna do it in black, because I always black primer everything that I 3D print anyway.
Yep.
And it just doesn't make a lot of sense if I'm just doing that for the zenithal effect.
I went with blue.
Yeah.
I've never used blue PLA, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try blue.
Because I did want to kind of compare and contrast, because I did have some white from the other filament that I was typically getting off Amazon, but I've already printed a couple of things so far, and I'm really happy with the result.
Yeah.
It's nice and still nice and clean. There is like a visually distinction between the two.
Is there?
Which I do kind of like. It's kind of a more dense isn't the right word, but like it's a more full color of it. I don't know if a picture would really translate that. I've taken a couple of like here's one and here's one here. So we'll see. Maybe I'll share those. But yeah, so Polar Filament is they're located near where I live. So
Troy?
Yeah, the Troy area.
Yeah.
So if I don't feel like waiting a couple days for my filament to arrive, I just hop in the car, go for a quick trip, and I'm back in an hour with a spool of filament. So that should be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Especially since I've got a couple of friends that are like, "Hey, I want to start printing Deadzone boards. I want to start printing MCP buildings from Corvus Games Terrain," and there's like 30 buildings. I'm like, okay, they're
those
like
are
in
not
4 pieces.
Those are not quick prints either.
No, I've got one going right now, and it should be done in about 18 hours. So once I'm back from work tomorrow. But yeah, I also wanted to throw out there another one of our other sponsors of the show is Acid House Terrain. They will be providing some of the terrain that we're going to be using at the tournament at Adepticon for firefights.
For firefight.
Yep. And maybe a little for Deadzone. We have a lot of Deadzone terrain already at Adepticon, so we probably won't be needing much from outside sources this time. We've at this point it's a funny thing, like this time last year I was scrambling to get stuff printed and painted and everything like that, and I'm kind of cruising, and this year is like I just have to paint up these item crates. Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe they take an hour to do each set, if that. Probably only a half hour or so. So it's like, yeah, I'm priming them up in my basement, which I don't encourage people to do. Always spray paint and prime in a well-ventilated area, or outdoors if you can.
Or use an airbrush.
But it's going to be like
ventilated area.
It's going to be like 37 degrees outside tomorrow, so maybe if I need to get some more done, we'll see. Michigan weather's weird.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I think with that's probably a good point to wrap on. So thank you guys for checking out the video. Make sure to the video. I'm doing it. Oh gosh.
It's tough because usually it's just an audio thing.
Yeah.
The last couple times, that's when we started doing the look. Well, we could look at each other.
Yeah,
we have cameras.
We will if we keep doing the video part, we will actually start bringing models that we can put in front of the camera.
I mean,
and show you stuff. Rick's
technically,
got a
I can go like this and go.
He can do that.
Where's my camera?
Yeah, wear it.
There's one of my Matsudon.
They do look really cool in person. They're also very mean.
They're rough.
We kind of glossed over the fact that the Matsudon really wrecked house on the Rebs that day.
You took 2 of them out.
There was more.
And you had an amazing 8 train.
I had an amazing 8 train to take out Oda Sorda with a Rin with dual pistols.
Yep.
And then they all just got wasted.
They got close enough.
They got too close. Is the big
and they
part.
just kept bouncing. I didn't think I was gonna like the knockback. When it comes to a fight thing, because no, if I didn't beat you, I want you to stay in the cube with me.
Yeah.
But after the way I was able to move around with them with the knockback, that was actually kind of fun.
Yeah. They don't bring Rebs into melee if you can help it. Or if you do, bring something that's more like a size 3.
Yeah, bring something big.
I was running kind of a themed list, and it meant that I didn't have anything over a size 2. My heavy hitter was the Teraton Shock Trooper, which I do like. I like that unit. It just
it held its own for a while.
It held its own for quite a while. But we did confirm my medic could not heal him in the same cube in melee, which was a big game changer. Anyway, we were about to wrap up the show, so thank you for listening. We hope you all have a safe New Year's into this icy season as it becomes colder. And make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms.
There it is. Good job.
Yeah. Look for Deadzone the podcast. And So
what did you order on Zazzle?
So I was gonna end the show, but I might as well leave this part. So new products that we have up on our Zazzle because they're new on Zazzle.
Yeah.
You can get yourself a Deadzone mini speaker, a little Bluetooth speaker with our logo on it. You can also get yourself a Deadzone tape measure with our Deadzone the podcast logo on it.
Very nice.
Which may or may not find its way into prize support for some event in the near future. And some more stickers because I was running out of stickers to give to people.
Cinder, you're not allowed to play with the Matsudon. She looks like a giant beast.
If those type of things interest you, hop up on our Zazzle page. It's mostly to just have some merch. Really, we're not expecting much out of it. No. But it's just kind of neat stuff that you can get kind of printed on demand.
Yes.
I still have had no success getting a baseball hat designed through something about our logo. It just does not like to print on canvas hats.
Can you see her on my table?
Yes, I can.
Right over
Hi,
the
Cinder.
Deadzone scenery.
Hi, Cinder.
Don't you dare.
I'm gonna do it.
She looks like she's checking out the Matsudon. I'm gonna go eat them.
I'm gonna go eat them. Anyways, that's I think that's a good place to wrap.
Yeah, it is.
Bye.
Which is convenient because my battery's almost gonna die.
Oh no!
I mean, it's close.
Oh no! We have fun here.
Always.
All right, night everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Because the camera's on you. Gotta wave.
Oh yeah.
Now you forget.
Yeah, I was looking over my notes to make sure I got everything.
Probably not.
Yeah.